Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan. Let's talk about Snake Mountain. So, let's catch you guys up to speed. If you're not familiar, several years ago at San Diego Comic-Con, Mattel showed off a prototype for a massive Masters of the Universe Classic Snake Mountain. It was going to be the follow-up to their already huge Castle Grayskull playset, but this thing was like twice the size. They initially intended it to have Bluetooth speakers inside so that you can use the microphone just like on the vintage toy, but with the Bluetooth now so that you can use your phone as the speaker or play music through the thing. And the thing was just really big. I mean, just absolutely ginormous. Very cool looking though, and of course a lot of people got really excited about it. Unfortunately, shortly after that, in fact it was about a year later, Masters of the Universe Classics was canceled by Mattel. Mattel just decided that they were no longer going to have MattyCollector.com open, they were no longer going to be releasing Masters of the Universe figures, and that was it. They just kind of ended the line. But immediately from that, Super 7, a much smaller company, was able to acquire the license and continue the Masters of the Universe Classics line. So the line as it is still going to this day. It's just no longer produced by Mattel. And somewhere in that transition from Mattel to Super 7, we've lost our Snake Mountain. Now, it's kind of understandable when you think about it. That Snake Mountain was massive. It's huge. And Mattel, of course, is the biggest toy company in the world. And when you don't have the biggest toy company in the world supporting this brand anymore, it's definitely going to put some complications in front of a release of an item that big. Also, with Super 7 taking things on, they're running on their own. Like I said, they're a much smaller company. I don't think they've really worked on something to quite this scale until they took on Masters of the Universe, and they're still very much kind of getting their footing with it. And I think they're making some great improvements. They're doing a good job, and the figure releases have definitely been coming out. We've got new figures coming very soon. Pre-orders are still open for a current wave, which, by the way, that's a thing. If you guys didn't know, they're currently offering pre-orders for more Masters of the Universe figures. So if this is something you want to see continue, go check those out. Because that's the thing with Super 7. Since they're a smaller company, they're running out of a different factory than what Mattel had. They're kind of working on their own. It's kind of running differently than what we expected before, because Super 7 can't quite go into huge production on a lot of these toys the way that Mattel could afford to do. And one of the things we've seen with Super 7 is that they do pre-order sales for all of their Masters of the Universe Classics figures, meaning they offer the pre-orders up front, people pay for them, and then the toys are made to order. They don't even have leftover stock to really sell on their website after that. They're just hopefully making a quota that they need to make to get them produced, and then that's it. Everybody that pre-ordered gets the figures. So, Snake Mountain. This keeps coming up a lot, and in fact I want to go ahead and reference some questions that were recently asked to Super 7 that are posted right now on the front page of He-Man.org, because Super 7 does a Q&A monthly where they answer questions from the fans, and there are 2 questions about Snake Mountain, which has been an ongoing trend ever since we saw that Snake Mountain prototype, which is totally understandable. We're excited. We want this big playset. So let's check out these questions. So one question says, what are the reasons it has taken so long to get more information about a Masters of the Universe Classic Snake Mountain? Super 7's response was, because it's huge. Snake Mountain is a giant playset, bigger than the Castle Grayskull that was already released. We wouldn't want to rush and make something that isn't just right. As soon as we have something to share, we certainly will. The next question is even more topical and definitely something I want to discuss in this video. The question says, Hasbro recently showed with its HasLab site that crowdfunding campaigns can work to support larger scale toys. This, of course, is in reference to Hasbro's recent crowdfunding that was successful to get the large Jabba's sail barge produced, and that thing actually made it beyond its goal, and it's happening. So the question goes on to say, is this an option that could be done with Collector's Choice and Club Grayskull vehicles and playsets, which of course, Snake Mountain would be one of those playsets. The answer to that is perhaps, We don't have specifics to share, but it's an interesting model that we may be considering for the future. So I know it's kind of a lot of non-answers. We don't really have any solid facts, but, if they don't really have anything ready to announce yet, it's not like they can give the facts anyway. So let's talk about that crowdfunding idea. HasLabs was the site that Hasbro just used to crowdfund the production of the Jabba's Sail Barge, which is this massive playset / vehicle straight out of Return of the Jedi. It's one of the longest, most demanded vehicles in a Star Wars line, and it's one of those things where it's always been so big that they really couldn't justify putting something like that on store shelves. At least I think that was Hasbro's line of thought. They could put big Millennium Falcons and big AT-ATs because I think they thought those were always more recognizable and they would sell. Getting the shelf space for something a little more niche like the sail barge, I just don't think they ever wanted to gamble on it before. So this crowdfunding thing was a way to get it produced. The price was $500. And they met their goal. I mean, several people pledged $500 to buy a sail barge, and now this thing is getting produced. So let's take that model and put it towards Castle Grayskull, because this is a question I want to pose to you guys, because I'm genuinely curious what you all think. That Snake Mountain that we saw at Comic-Con was like double the size of Castle Grayskull. Castle Grayskull, when it was initially sold, which was 5 years ago now, was $300, okay? And at that time, a lot of people thought that was very expensive. If Super 7, a much smaller company than Mattel, produces Snake Mountain, which will likely be in smaller quantities than Castle Grayskull, I would say that minimum, it's going to cost us $500, just like this Jabba sail barge. It might even be more than that, but let's just go ahead and say $500. Looking at the Jabba sail barge model, it does come with one figure. It's got a yak face that comes with it. However, that yak face is also going to be released single carded in a different packaging at retail, so it's not even really exclusive to the sail barge. The only thing that's exclusive about it is the packaging, but that means they're still going to get production dollars and use out of the mold for that yak face because it's going to be at retail, wide retail release. Back over to Snake Mountain, personal opinion, I don't think they'd be able to throw in any action figures with it. You got to understand that in today's world, Masters of the Universe Classics figures cost about $30 a piece, and throwing in a figure with Snake Mountain just doesn't really seem feasible. I think if they did, it would drive up the price, and it would also have to be something that's available elsewhere. It couldn't be exclusive to this box set. So unless they needed that to kind of entice people to buy it, which maybe they would do that, I don't know. It seems to me like it would just be the playset by itself. Castle Grayskull didn't come with a figure. It was just the playset by itself. In fact, Castle Grayskull didn't even come with the weapons rack or the weapons and stuff like that because Mattel just assumed you already bought all that stuff separately. So, I think Snake Mountain, if it happens, I think it will get shrunk down. I think they will remove the Bluetooth, and I think it'll still cost $500 minimum if they go this crowdfunding route. So here's the question I pose to you guys. Would you pay for it? Would you pay $500 for a Snake Mountain? Would you pay, what would you pay for a Snake Mountain? Are you even interested in a Snake Mountain at this point? Because we are at a point with Masters of the Universe where there's definitely not as many people buying the figures. And that's just the fact of the line. That's just the way it's gotten because we're at a part where, the characters are pretty niche at this point. All the heavy hitters have come out, unless we're counting the Filmation stuff. But it's definitely not quite as big as it was when Mattel was producing it. So, do you think those people would come back for Snake Mountain? We're talking about that Star Wars thing, the Jabba sail barge. I know that Star Wars is kind of going through a period right now where the toys aren't selling as well, but you know what? Everything original trilogy still sells really well. And the Star Wars name is still far more recognizable than the Masters of the Universe name. And I'm saying this with Masters of the Universe being my number one favorite line of all time. I'm well aware that Star Wars is much more in the public eye. I think it's probably got a bigger fan base, so it might have been easier to fund something like the sail barge. I don't know. I've really got all these questions kind of circling in my head. I'm curious if Super 7 is going to attempt this or not, but mostly I'm curious what you guys think. So let's talk about it. Do you want a Snake Mountain? What are you going to pay for it? Would you pay $500? Would you do the crowdfunding thing? Maybe this discussion right here, Super 7 could look at, and it will help them decide if it's something they want to do. So, just wanted to throw that out there. I thought it was really interesting that the subject of Snake Mountain has never really died, even though it's been several years. Folks really still seem to want it. I'm just curious if enough people want it. So there we go. I pose those questions to you. Snake Mountain, what are your thoughts? Comment below. And hey, do me a favor. Like the video. Hit the subscribe button. That will help me out huge. Thanks for watching, guys. And until next time.